Hey everyone, welcome back. So in this video, we are going to discuss reserved words versus predefined identifiers. So without any further ado, let's hop in. So let me just discuss identifiers and reserved words briefly. I'm not going to discuss them in detail because I've already made a video on those topics. So feel free to watch them. Identifier, a name that you use for naming variables, methods, classes, interfaces, constructors. Just a name. Simple. Reserved words, words that are part of core language. It has a special meaning or functionality associated with it. Simple, we have already discussed this. This int. What does it int specify? It specifies a type. It can be either a variable type or a method type. It just depends on the situation where you use it. Public. Public is access modifier. It just specifies the access of a particular component. Simple. You cannot redefine them. This is a very important statement. Their meaning is clearly defined by the creators of the core language. We cannot change its meaning. I am emphasizing on this because it is important. We cannot redefine it. Compiler knows their meaning. Of course, if we use an int like something like this, int count equals to 10, we don't need to tell the compiler, hey, this int means the data type. The compiler knows, okay, you are using in front of a variable name, so you are just specifying it as a data type. Simple. Okay, let me just discuss predefined identifiers then. What are predefined identifiers? A predefined identifier is an identifier that is a part of standard Java library or API. What is standard Java library or API? In layman terms, it is containing a bunch of methods, classes to make our lives easy. In simple words, to perform simple tasks. It a simple task, or we can say repetitive task that are very common task. It provides a function for that. For example, consider math class. The math class contains very common mathematical operation that we need to perform in our day-to-day programming life. For example, finding max of numbers, you have math.max. Finding minimum of numbers, you have math.min. For trigonometric functions, you have math.sine, math.cosine, and so on. We have this constant math.pi, so that we don't need to define a pi variable in our program. So we can say that standard Java API contains numerous helper functions or helper methods to perform common tasks. So we don't need to write the logic of that thing again and again. So it's something like this. If we have a wheel, why need to reinvent it? They are created to make our lives easy. This Println function. Yeah, this Println function is also a part of standard Java library. The developers thought that printing items in the console is a very common task. And why don't we define a function named println? So they just defined it. You are under no obligation to use the Java API. You can redefine them if you want. These two are very important statements. It is not mandatory that you use the println function. You can just write your own function naming anything. You can just write, I can just create a function named Kathan and use it to do the printing job on the console. Of course, I need to write the logic. The point is not that. The point is we can use these identifier names and we can change their meaning because they are not part of core Java language. They are just provided so that our life becomes easy. So we can redefine them if we want. This is the main catch here. We can redefine them so that we can use println or a system or that this math as a variable name or class name or constructor name, if you will. The compiler doesn't know their meaning. To make sure the compiler understands them, you need to include the specific package using import statement. This is I think a little bit hard to swallow. Let me give an example. If you just write a class, okay, if you write a class, then and only then you can use it, right? Otherwise, you cannot declare a variable of that class type, right? So it is like that only. If we are using the println function or method, we of course need to write its code somewhere, right? So the compiler doesn't know it. We need to tell the compiler, hey compiler, this is its code. Now you make sure that this println, what is the meaning of this println. In the similar scenario, if you are using this array list class, if you are declaring an object of type array list, you don't need to know what array list does. Just consider example, if you are using this array list class and you are declaring a variable of type array list, for compiler, this array list means nothing. We need to import its code, all the code that is written for the array list class, so that the compiler knows, okay, what does this mean? So let me just give an example what I mean by that. You will write something like this: import java.util.arraylist. It will simply do what? It will just all the code that is written inside this ArrayList class. Let's just take an example. Okay, let me just write it. If I write something like ArrayList L, declare a variable of type ArrayList and simply run it, the compiler will throw me an error. See, the compiler throws an error. Cannot find symbol. What is that symbol? The symbol is class ArrayList. So the compiler actually doesn't know what does this mean. So we need to tell the compiler its meaning. So how we do that? We just need to write a import statement. Just need to import its code. Now the compiler will know. Okay, if I spell import correctly, the compiler will definitely know. Here you can see the code compiles and runs, why it doesn't give any error. Guess it makes sense, right? These are, what is a predefined identifier? These are just identifiers that are part of a core Java API, and their meaning is defined by the developers who wrote them. They just help us perform common tasks, so that we don't need to write a very low level code. They just abstract a lot of details for us. Now question might arise you. We are using this system class without importing anything. We are using this string as our data type without importing anything. Why is that? How does the compiler actually know? That's the catch here. The jar.lang package is automatically imported. So you don't need to import it explicitly. So all the classes and all the, in simple words, all the methods or functions, all the functionality inside it is already imported for us. Just to name a few, the string is present in jar.lang package. The println function is also present in jar.lang package. Math class is also present in jar.lang package. So we actually don't need to import it. You already know this, but just for the sake of completion, I have to show this. Okay, let me just get rid of this array list thing. Okay, I'll just declare a variable of type string, declare a variable of type string buffer. I'll declare a type of string, okay, string builder. Here you can see I'm not importing any code for this. I can import them explicitly by writing jar.lang.string, jar.lang.string buffer. But I don't need to do this because they are automatically imported for us. See, the compiler doesn't throw any error. These things are already imported. I hope this is clear to you. These are predefined identifiers or some identifiers that are part of standard Java library, and their meaning is given to the developers. Simple. If you want to use them, you have to import them. But some of them are already imported, like the jar.lang package. Okay, let me just summarize what we have discussed then. What is an identifier? It's just a name. Reserved word, a word or a name with a special meaning that we cannot change. Simple. Predefined identifier. It is an identifier defined by the developers to make our lives easy by abstracting a lot of low-level code. If you really want to see how that println method is written at low level, try googling around the code. You will see there is a hell lot of hard work going on behind that simple println method. We can change its meaning if we want. Yeah, you are under no obligation to use the println. That is, it is not mandatory that you cannot redefine the meaning of println. You can use println as your own method name and do addition stuff. Okay. Before I end this video, I would really want to see if you understand something. So I'll just give an example and just see if the following code is valid or not. Just check if the following code is valid or not. Just make sure in mind, what you need to know is simply what is an identifier and what are the valid ways to define an identifier. It is a very simple code. Just give it a shot. I'll give you 10 seconds, right? So time starts now. So how did it go? Did you figure out? So from where I see, it is a completely valid code. Why it is a completely valid code? This two's println function, there is no error here. It is simply valid. There's a main class. There is no problem here. Here we have our main method, no problem. We have to just check this two statements. Here I am defining a variable of type int and whose name is println. Can I do this? Is it a reserved word? No, it is not a reserved word. So I can do it. Simple. And of course, all the basic rules of identifiers are followed. It doesn't start with digits and so on. You know that, right? Here, it's a tricky one. We are using string as a data type. Of course, java.lang.string is already imported. We can use it. We are using that string only as an identifier name. We can do that actually. It is interesting. We can actually do that. The string actually refers to java.lang.string, and this string is actually a variable name. This code perfectly compiles and runs fine. Let me just show you. For the sake of completion of video, you can run it on your machine also. It will just run simple fine. Okay, this is the code. Let's just run it. You can see the code perfectly runs fine. So I hope you learned. I hope you got the topics right. I hope you really got something out of this video. If you learned something, leave a like, and of course, thank you for watching.